I'm Elena Cousino, and today I am joined by Scott Duimstra, the Executive Director at Capital Area District Libraries. We'll be talking about the reopening of select libraries that now offer in-person browsing without scheduling an appointment. Scott, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your position at Capital Area District Libraries?
Sure. Well, I'm the Executive Director of Capital Area District Libraries. This is my 5th year in the position. And what my position is I oversee the 13 locations. So we have 13 libraries throughout Ingham County, and then a mobile library as well, which is for anyone who drives by our Okemos library, it's parked right in the back, and you cannot miss it because it has a really bright colored paint theme on it as well too. But it's we in kind of pre-pandemic times, we have over 2 million visitors. We circulate over 2 million items, and so we're very, very busy. And during the pandemic, we found ourselves kind of pivoting and having to have a new service model, and that's why we're so glad to reopen back up and allow people back into our spaces.
So you kind of led in right into my next question. So before we jump into the reopening, could you tell us how CADL has been operating throughout the pandemic? I know curbside and online services were extremely popular. So
they were very popular. So early on, back in March of 2020, with the stay home, stay safe order, we had to basically do everything at home. And so our digital collections were immensely popular. And then we did virtual programs like virtual story times from our homes. And then in June of 2020, we were able to come back into our spaces, and we had to offer curb and doorside pickup. And at our Okemos branch and our Aurelius branch, we already had that in place before the pandemic, but at our other remaining 11 locations, we didn't have it. So we had to kind of come up with a model on how that would work. And as you mentioned, it was very, very popular, and it continues to be very popular. And then we looked at other services, like how do people use libraries that they can't get through curb and doorside pickup? And the number one was access to our public computers. And so we brought, in October of 2020, we brought people back into our spaces to use public computers. And then we were ready to bring the public back into our space to come in for in-person browsing, because that was the next thing that we heard is we love curb and doorside pickup, but we just want to come into the space and pick up our own materials. And we were all ready to release that in May. And then, as you know, there was a dramatic uptick in cases in Ingham County. And so we actually had to put that on pause and wait until the beginning of June to release that. And that was, vaccination rates rose, positive cases went down. And so that's where we felt June 1st was a safe way to reintroduce it. And it was also the first day of summer reading. So it was a nice tie-in to welcome back to our libraries on the first day of summer reading and the first time you've been into our spaces since before the pandemic.
So you mentioned the in-person starting on June 1st. So what have you heard? What have you seen? How is it going so far?
It's as with anything, we knew it was going to be kind of slow and steady. You're going to have the people who've just been really waiting to come in, and then you're going to have people who they just want to see how it goes and kind of get their comfort level back up. And that's what we've seen. It's funny because for our Okemos branch, they did one of the best reopenings. They had a group of people waiting outside the door on June 1st, ready to come in. So they had the Rocky theme playing for people walking in the door. They had staff welcome everyone, clapping, kind of welcome back into our space. And so we just had really fun stuff like that. And one of the things that we've kind of been preaching in all of our promotions about in-person browsing is to just be nice, be kind. We're still under mask mandates unless you fall under 3 exceptions. We're under capacity limits we can only be at 50% capacity. So just if staff talk to you about that, just be kind back. And that's what we've seen. We've just seen people who truly love the library and want to come back in the library. And it's been nothing but a positive experience a week later.
So then you mentioned the exemption. So my next question is for the staff. So when individuals walk in and fall under that exemption, are staff required to go up to the individual and check, or is it more, for the most part, on an honor system?
It's on an honor system. So we have to comply with the order from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. There's signs posted outside and inside the library, and we've been doing it in our promotional materials as well too. That says if you fall under the 3 exceptions, which are you're fully vaccinated, you're under the age of 2, or you medically can't tolerate wearing a mask, then you can come into our space without wearing a mask. And so, while staff might have a reminder in the space, it's just been kind of on the honor system as we've seen retail kind of using that same model as well too. And honestly, it's been great for us. Even when we're open for public computers, when there was a heavier mask mandate, we didn't have any issues. And so I just, I liken that to people want to be in the library. It's usually a very positive experience. And so we haven't had any kind of bad interactions with that. And one of our worries too was we can only be at 50% capacity for our spaces. And so there was a concern about, trying to get in quickly, do what you need to do, and then move out so that other people can have a chance to come into the library. And we've asked families to limit it to only 3 members at a time, just so everyone gets a chance to visit the library. And that hasn't been an issue as well either. And so both those are the 2 kind of big limitations. And with either one of those, we have not had any issues so far.
Perfect. So what have been the frequently asked questions that people have asked about the reopening that you would like to address today?
Sure. Probably the most is, are you going to keep curb and doorside pickup? And for now, yes. The only 2 libraries that we can't keep it at is our downtown Lansing and our South Lansing location, because we were doing doorside pickup there, and it actually blocks the entrance to the facility. So there's no way for us to keep that while allowing people into the space. But the whole shelves are right by the door. So even if you do come in, it's going to be a very brief visit. But that's probably the number one question, because as with retail, it's turned into very popular, convenient, and also safe way. Especially we understand that some people can't get vaccinated, and so this is the safest way that they can interact with the library. So we'll definitely try to maintain it for as long as we can. But that's probably the number one question. The other question is, when can I start to use some of those other library things, like furniture in the library, study space in the library, meeting rooms in the library? And we just asked to be patient. We came back with in-person browsing. As limitations start to get lifted, like the capacity limit, then we'll start to bring some of those other things back, like meeting room spaces, the furniture to study in, the toys and play things in children's areas. As those other things get lifted, then we'll slowly start to bring some of those items back. But those are probably the biggest 2. And then again, like the safety point of it, I think we're in a different place now than where we were last year, even earlier this year. And we have been very cautious as an organization. And so a lot of the safety questions that we might have got last year just are not really there right now.
So with the reopening, should the public be on the lookout for in-person events in the future hosted by the libraries?
Yes. And so we're, as with everything, we're kind of slowly bringing those back, seeing what the comfort level of our communities are, but also kind of what we can do within our spaces as far as how many people we can get for an event. So we are having some back this summer. If you go to our website, cadl.org, and click on events, there's a full list of events. It'll say whether it's an indoor event, or for some of our libraries, we're actually doing outdoor events as well too, because you can have more individuals. You can be a safe distance apart. And then also, especially since younger children can't be vaccinated yet, you might have parents might be a little more comfortable bringing their child to an outdoor event rather than an indoor event where you're going to be there for 45 minutes to an hour. But we do have a nice mixture of both. And then also probably a question that we get quite a bit is, what about virtual programs? I mean, people have really loved that as well too. And we'll continue that. our virtual story times are probably some of the most viewed events that we have ever had. And it's just a great way to connect, especially with those preschoolers and even preschool, where parents just aren't comfortable yet bringing their children back into the library. It's a great way for them to interact with our staff, build those early literacy skills, all from the comforts of their home.
So is there anything else you would like to say regarding the opening of in-person transactions at the libraries?
I would just say, just thank our communities. They have been so patient, so understanding. We realize it's well over a year from where we were, but as they've seen kind of throughout the pandemic, this pandemic isn't just getting from point A to point B. There's mountains and valleys all within this as well too. So it's definitely not a smooth reopening for any business, whether it's a library or whether it's a retail store. And so I just want to thank them for their patience, for their understanding, for their positive messages. I mean, we've had so many positive messages throughout this as well too. And for us, we just tried to stay connected to our communities and help them in whatever way that they needed the help in. And so just a big thank you to all of them. And then also a reminder, with summer being here, summer reading is our holiday time. And so it's the busiest time that the libraries have been. We've seen a huge uptick in participation in summer reading this year, but it's not too late. It started on June 1st, but it runs until August 7th. So if you're looking for something to do this summer, all ages, adults, teens, and children, sign up for summer reading.
So where can I find more information about the summer reading program?
Sure. They can go to our website, cadl.org. There's information on summer reading, information on events, information on our digital collections, and information on in-person browsing at any of our locations.
Perfect. Well, Scott, thank you so much for joining me today.
For more information about CADL's summer reading program or up-to-date information about in-person browsing, visit cadl.org. For HOMTV, I'm Elena Cousino. Thank you for watching.